302.
Is,
I'm late.
It's okay.
302. I can't believe you were 2 minutes.
What do we have to
I know. Yeah, we're good to go. Oh, we're going? We're going?
Spicy. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was going on the phone. Hello. All right, everyone. I'm going to sit down because there's not that many of you, and you don't need to see me stand up. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about types of intelligences applied to Overture and you. Yeah. Just click. Ooh. So I'm not a VPN. Well, I am a VPN.
I'm not a VPN. Why do I need to learn about teaching Overture?
I'm so glad you asked. So basically everyone's going to be a teacher at some point in your life. You might have to teach someone within TBS if you are a VPN, or you're invited to like the VPN's class to like teach a little segment, which happens in Overture sometimes. You may be a big sister. How many of you are a big sister in here? Okay, like a lot. I'm a big sister. That requires you to help teach your small person how to TBS, and they will come to you with questions, and you will have to teach them about said things that they need to know about. You may be a section leader. So within your band, you guys are the leaders of the band. You may be called upon to be a section leader at some point, which means you will have to teach your section of the band, about marching, the marching styles in your band, or anything about your concert band that they need to know, other things like that. Next one is you will have a degree. Because you have a degree, that means you are an expert in something. You have knowledge in your brain, and what are you going to do with that knowledge? You're going to share it with people. You're not just going to keep it to yourself and never get a job. Well, hopefully. Hopefully you'll get a job. That's the goal, right? But at some point, you're going to have to share that knowledge with someone else in order to complete your job. Next one, you may have to train someone. At said job, you may be called upon to train a new person who doesn't know the system that goes with your job. Like at the pharmacy, each hospital kind of has a different system that they use to input meds. So you'll have to teach them about that, something like that. I'm going to use a lot of pharmacy references just because that's me. I'm pharmacy. So if that gets too annoying, just let me know. Learning about learning also teaches you how to learn yourself. So these styles of learning, well, I'm going to call them multiple intelligences because that's the theory, but they're designed to also help you in your studying, and we're all in college, right? I mean, you have to be in college to be active in TBS, so hopefully. So this is actually going to help you with your studying as well. I have a lot of study tips throughout. Thing I also have throughout this presentation is memes. I know it is the afternoon session. This is the last session. I can tell in your eyes you're a little bit dead inside right now. It's okay, me too. But there are memes scattered throughout this that are applicable to the PowerPoint that hopefully help you learn as well. Okay, so the theory of multiple intelligence. What the heck is that? The theory of multiple intelligence was created by this really old guy a really long time ago who decided that, IQ isn't the only way to measure intelligence. Some people have different kinds of intelligence that aren't just answering questions and logic, which is so true. I already said that point. There's more to being smart than just having logic. And not everyone is just one type of learner. So the reason I'm not doing learning styles is because that learning styles put you in one category and says, you can only do this category. When in reality, we learn in all sorts of different ways. You're not just one type of learner, and that's it. You can benefit from every single style of learning, which is awesome, because that means when you get tired of one way, you can just switch to another way. Yeah. So throughout the presentation, I'm going to ask, if you feel like this applies to you, or if you feel like you're this type of learner, raise your hand, and then you'll raise your hand if you feel that way. So take little polls through it. So we're going to go over the 7 different types of intelligences in this theory. So we've got verbal, logic, visual, kinesthetic, that's movement, tactile things, musical, hope we all know what that one is, interpersonal. The inter is like between people, and then the intrapersonal is like within yourself. I always get those two mixed up, so I thought I would clarify those. And then naturalistic, which is like nature. Is everyone cool so far? Everyone following? Am I going too fast or any for anyone? Cool. So the first one we've got is verbal. So people who like learn really well verbally, their strengths are reading and writing, telling stories, and memorizing dates. I thought the memorizing dates one was really specific, but it's in there. So if you're like really good at remembering people's birthdays, like you might be this type of learner, because that's like a very specific thing that some people have. They really like to read and write and talk and memorize. I don't know anyone who really loves memorizing, but like maybe. And they learn best by reading, obviously. That's like the third time I've said the word read. Hearing and seeing words, speaking, journaling, and then discussing and debating ideas. So who in here feels like they relate to being a verbal learner? Like raise your hand. Okay. I like it. That was what I mean. It means relate to the themes, and it's really great.
I just love that it overtakes the entire slide.
Yeah, all of them overtake the entire slide, and that's like the best part. Okay, so an example that I pulled from Overture specifically, this is the one where they're trying to learn about the mission statement. And this activity, you divide the class and have them restate the meaning of the mission statement by kind of defining the words or phrases within the mission statement. So kind of how we talked about in that pyramid that we just talked about in there, it's kind of like the second from the bottom, the understanding portion. I thought that went really well with this as well. So you can kind of like mesh the two presentations and see what kind of learning styles you're pinpointing with each activity. Okay, as far as study skills go, for verbal learners, I have some tips for you. One of the best ways to learn is to become the teacher. Explaining the information out loud will help you remember it a lot better. Saying the information in your own words, not just like repeating, but actually understanding the material. I'm relating back to this other presentation. Use examples and make connections between ideas will help you remember it as well. You can do this in a group setting, or you can do it alone. Like, you can talk to yourself. I know that's kind of weird sometimes, but like everyone does it. And another tip I found was using mnemonics to memorize material. So that's like the every good boy does fine, to remember the notes on the lines of the staff. And I thought this one was funny because it has a few other ones on here. It says like, Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. Did anyone ever use that one? What about eat good burritos during fiesta?
I'm sure Taco Bell.
We did go to Taco Bell.
What Taco Bell?
So that I just wanted to see if anyone did those.
Every good boy deserves fudge is the line.
See, for base clef, I learned good boys deserve fudge always.
Oh.
But that's for base clef.
What about even George Bush drives fast?
I didn't know that was one. I love that one. Okay. Alright, so the next one I have is logic. So these people, they really like math and reasoning and kind of like taking a problem and finding a bunch of solutions for it. They like to question and work with numbers, kind of experiment, tinker with things until they're just right. And they work best by working with patterns and relationships and classifying and categorizing, which I thought was weird, like classifying and categorizing going with like math, but it kind of makes sense when you think about like numbers and especially like statistics. So this one I have a meme too. It skipped the meme. There it goes. It's a math meme.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, how many of you feel like you would fall into the logic category? Yeah, okay, engineer. I see you. Okay. So we did that. So So one example that I found from Overture was having the MCs kind of discuss what the criteria would be for a 4 greater bands award. This goes more with like the categorizing, like how would you categorize people in the band that would be eligible for this award. So that's what I found there. Any study skills? By the way, I didn't just like make up these study skills. Like these are from UNC's library website.
I can't believe you don't have footnotes on your slide.
I know. I really should have put a reference. I don't even have a references slide.
Academic misconduct.
I know. I'm plagiarizing right now. So what you can do when you're more of a logic thinker is you can formulate questions, and doing practice questions is really helpful for these people. Make sure you can explain your answers and why they work, not just like why an answer is right, but also why all the other answers are wrong is a good way to do that. You okay? Okay. Always write down your problems and examples that you get in class so you can work through them later. And at minimum, if you can't like write it down because they're going too fast, then make sure you have like the question and the answer. And then quiz yourself. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is, oh wait. This is out of order. Oh no, I just put Overture Example on the wrong slide. Sorry, might be. I swear I looked at this. So, for visual learners, these people like reading like maps and charts, kind of like anything you can see and has color and has like a form. They like drawing and mazes and puzzles. They like to draw, design, and build, create, daydream, more of like your creative side things. And they learn best by working with pictures and colors, visualizing, and those graphs and tables that we talked about. Okay, I think I have another meme on this side. A lovely chart for your visual learning. Okay, like fun fact, I put this in my slides like a while ago, and my own car rickrolled me the other day. I like turned it on and it was playing. I was like, okay. Do you all know what rickrolling is?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, so an example I found from Overture is in module. Wait, did I ever see this? In module 1, the mission statement. I'm so sorry. This is like, I'm like thrown off a little bit. Okay, I'm back together. So this one is actually going through the national website, like on your screen, and showing them like, this is how you get places on the national website. So actually like showing them visually on a screen how you would do things and how you would find information about TPS. Okay, so some study skills that you can take away from this. Oh, by the way, did I ask if any of you, how many of you feel like you would fall into this category? Okay, I don't think I asked that. All right, cool. Definitely draw pictures in your notes. Doodle. That is like a really good way to remember things. Use a lot of color in your notes too. This especially helps me when I'm trying to memorize things like drug names. When I'm taking a test, I remember what color I markered that drug in, and so it helps me remember what the brand and generic names are for the drug and what they do. Create concept maps and diagrams. Obviously, we talked about like, yes, you can present maps and diagrams when you're the teacher, but also like drawing them for yourself is really helpful. Rewording information that's already in your notes as a graph or a chart or a bubble chart is super helpful. By bubble chart, I mean that thing. I didn't know if people knew what that was, so I put it on there. And
Is that
then,
like an idea web?
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, is that what it's called? Is that what it's really called?
I don't know, that's what I grew up calling it, but it
I
could be
like-
something else.
That makes sense. I mean, I grew up in India, so I probably called it. That's
Yeah.
probably why I called it that. Okay, anyways. And developing symbols that represent concepts will also assist you. Okay, the next one. I forget what number this is. Kinesthetic. that how you say that?
Yeah.
Kinesthetic. Okay. It's like kind of a weird word. But these people like athletics, dancing, acting, crafts, and building things. They like to move and touch and use body language. I always think about Play-Doh when I think about this. I don't know why, but it's just like creating by using your hands. And they learn by touching and moving. How many people would resonate with this intelligence? Oh, we got a very strong hand back here. Yeah, cool. This one also has a knee. This is mainly because it was like, oh, athletics. We don't do that. Oh, wait. We march. Just kidding. Okay. So for this one, my overture example is for the fifth purpose. There's a lesson where the MC class makes a skit about the fifth purpose. And so this goes along with like the acting. So, and each MC can kind of use their strengths, which is also something I like about this, either writing the script, producing the video, or actually like acting in it. And then they can share it with the active members of the chapter once they're done. And it's really fun. So for study skills, this one the website didn't have a whole lot on this, so I'm really sorry. But movement mnemonics, like trying to think about, or using like movement to like help you remember things in your notes. How I'm doing right now is I'm like using a bunch of hand gestures, like thinking about that when you're doing your notes. I have cute Hannah Montana bone dance. Does anyone remember the episode of Hannah Montana where she does the bone dance and she remembers all her bones? Like that's what I think of when I think of kinesthetic learning.
Little milking cows at Uncle Earl's farm. I use the tibia. That is in my
That's not where your tibia is.
And I use the something.
Tibia's in your leg.
I don't use my tibia. The fibia.
Yeah, but when I was studying for anatomy, I would like be like, oh, what's this bone? What's this bone? Because I would touch it and I would know like where it was and and I would help remember the name that way. Okay, everyone's favorite musical. So these people like singing and picking up sounds, remembering melodies and rhythm. They like to sing, play an instrument.
What?
Weird.
What's an instrument?
And listen to music. And they learn by rhythm, melody, singing, and listening to music. So how many of you feel like you fall into this category? Oh yeah, I like the hands, I like the hands. Cool. I love it. Okay, so the overture example I have for this one is when we're all learning the Greek alphabet, do you guys get the YouTube video talk about how there's like a good YouTube video and there's like a bad YouTube video? Everyone has a preference for like if they like the singing one or like the rap one. Do you guys get that? Is that just me? Okay. So that's a great way to memorize the Greek alphabet, and it's also included in Overture. So showing a YouTube video that is a song of the Greek alphabet and not just like looking at it on a paper. Okay, so study skills for musical learners. Silence isn't golden. You do not need your study space to be completely silent. That doesn't work for everyone. You need to find your preferable noise study ratio level. So finding that level when you're studying is a really good way to enhance it. And music can also be your study break. You should take a study break approximately every 20 minutes once you're studying. My piano teacher actually told me, like when I'm practicing piano, that the brain can only focus for 17 minutes optimally. Now, whether that was true or not, because she was like a piano teacher and she was really old, is questionable. But it ranged through here at UNC, so that's good. You can listen to music on your study break. You can practice your pieces on your study break. I actually bring my piccolo with me wherever I go because I have class right before band, and like a piccolo is like this big. So sometimes during class, I'll practice memory. Not during class. Oh my gosh, I didn't say that. We have like 10 minutes. We have 10-minute breaks between our classes, and our classes are in the same room. So I will break out my piccolo and I'll start like memorizing my music during our break during class. Okay, next one is interpersonal. Remember, this is like two different people interacting. So the strengths of these people are understanding, kind of the empathy, organizing, lots of emotional things here, conflict resolution, and also marketing. Well, that one was interesting, kind of like knowing how to connect with other people through marketing. They like to be with people, talk and join groups. This is starting to sound very extroverted, which it probably is. And they learn by sharing and comparing, relating, interviewing, and cooperating. So how many of you feel like you would fall into this category? All right, that's some hands. Yeah, I knew when I put like conflict resolution up there that made you all over that.
Yeah.
This one has a meme too. Also, I love Parks and Rec. I am Leslie
Yes.
Big move.
We love Leslie. We love Leslie. I really like
I know I did. Okay.
Doing great.
Doing great. So the Overture example I found for this one comes from Module 4. When we're talking about national headquarters, it has the class as a group plan a trip to national headquarters and kind of work out all the kinks together. So they're discussing dates, logistics, travel and housing, and they have to kind of determine the cost per person so that everyone in the chapter knows what to expect when going to national headquarters. Yeah. And with that, you'll run into potential conflicts where you'll have to resolve it. That goes with like the conflict resolution part of this, and you'll have to see what people want to do, which is more of the like connecting with people and understanding people. So, study skills. These people work best in group settings for studying. So, a really great way to do that is to actually talk it out with someone, like find someone that is in your same class and just kind of talk out the concepts together and quiz each other to see what you know. Okay, now we're going to go to intrapersonal, which is just self. Some of these, oh wait, did I ask how many people feel like they're interpersonal? Did I ask that? Okay. We got some kind of, that's cool too. Now we're going to go into intrapersonal, which is understanding yourself, and they're really good at self-evaluation and setting their own goals. They like to work alone, reflect, and pursue their interests. So we're going more introverted here. Our introverted selves are coming out. And they learn by working alone, having self-paced projects, and going over reflections when they complete those projects. This one has a meme too. Okay, here's my overture example for this one. So this is having your MCs, which is membership candidates. Does everyone call it membership candidates? I never really asked that.
We have PMs, potential members.
Yeah.
Potential members? What do you call it?
MCs.
MCs?
Prospective members.
Perspective members. Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Like that. Okay, so we got a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
So I'll try not to use MCs. I'll just try to use like.
Well, at least we get what you mean though.
Okay, that's good. So MCs, PMs.
It's like, it's interchangeable, we get it.
Okay. Love that. So having them write a letter to one of the people or chapters from the history of the sorority's founding, just to include what they learned and about the past and about the history of our sorority. So I thought that was cool. Oh, and they have to put one question they would ask that person. So some study skills that would go with interpersonal. So definitely working by yourself, doing majority of your studying alone. Who feels like they would, sorry, I forgot to ask this again. Who Who feels like they would relate with this a lot? Same, though. Same. Definitely deriving examples that relate to your own experiences, kind of that reflection within yourself to connect with whatever you're studying. Using online resources like Khan Academy is super helpful because you can do that by yourself. It's just you and your laptop, but it's also having someone else's perspective. And keep yourself accountable by utilizing a study schedule, setting goals for yourself of how much studying you want to get done this week or this day. And another small tip I found is the most effective studying is done in smaller chunks. So if you do like 30 minutes of each class per day, that's like your optimal range for getting the most out of your studying. Unfortunately for me, I am only in one class at a time, so that's a little hard, but you guys, that you're in like multiple classes, that's really helpful. You can split it into topics too, so that's what I usually do is I'll split mine into topics because I have one class for 18 hours a week. Okay, so the last one, we made it all the way here, is naturalistic. So the strengths of naturalistic learners would be understanding nature, making distinctions and identifying kind of like, oh, well this tree is this tree and this tree is different because it has different leaves or something like that. They like to make distinctions and be involved in nature. And they learn by working in nature, exploring, and thinking through natural events. So who feels like they would fall into this category? Some? Yeah, any like environmental field people in here? Okay, we got some. That's cool. Is nature walk still relevant? I need to know.
What?
Nature walk?
I know what you're talking about. But
I'm dazed and confused, as my father
Okay.
would say.
Well, we'll watch it later.
Rad.
If we have time at the end, I will put on nature walk. Okay, this one's really long, but I was having a real hard time finding one for this one because it's literally like nature. We're out in nature. So, but there's actually one where you have the MCs make a literal spider web out of like yarn, and they basically point out in 8 and 5 that they see in another MC or PM, and they like toss the ball of string to them while holding on to the other end, and they end up making a spider web. And I was like, that's nature, right? It's also very interpersonal. So a lot of these overture examples, they can apply to more than one learning or more than one intelligence. So that's exciting. So for naturalistic for study skills, I wanted to talk about the environment in which you are studying. So it's all about location, location, location. Study spots can often get stale, so it's really important to switch it up and not get too comfortable where you are studying. So find several places on your campus or in your town where you feel like, yes, this is like a really good place for me to study, like how we talked about optimal like sound, or if you need to be near people, or if you need to be alone, think about stuff like that. And so when one place gets too comfortable, or you find yourself like falling asleep in that place, or you're not getting good studying done, you can go to a different place. Yay, it's activity time. So we are gonna do 2 overture activities that I picked out special for you guys. Yeah, let's do it. So for the first one, what's the first one? This one? For the first one, I need you guys to get into 4 groups. There's 4 too many. Should we do 3? 3 groups? Let's do 3 groups. Because then you'll have more colors. We love colors. So get into 3 groups of 3. Because it looks like there's 9 of you. And then you guys can, if you want.
everyone just stares at each other. Should we leave this on for your turn?
You could probably turn it off.
Bye, everyone.